today's YouTube video, we're jumping into the top 5 fastest TTK loadouts you guys can run. These will have the fastest TTK potential in the entire game, so hope you guys enjoy. If you do, be sure to give it a like for the algorithm, subscribe for more, and let's hop into this. First gun we're taking a look at here today is going to be the Cronin Squall. This thing is undoubtedly the most dominant sort of AR. Even though it's technically a battle rifle, it's ran as an AR. It is undoubtedly the most dominant gun pretty much for long range capabilities in Warzone right now. All right, so for my first attachment on this gun, what we're going to be running is the Bore 490. This is going to help us out that horizontal and vertical recoil control. We absolutely love running this thing just because this gun's going to bounce a decent bit, especially since they did nerf the recoil a little while back because it was incredibly OP, like even more so than it is now. It's still incredibly dominant and the best one to be able to run, but they did kind of nerf that recoil, so we have to run that Bore 490. The tune on that here is going to be a -0.44 and a +0.17, so that's how I got that tuned. After that, what we're going to do is we're going to run the HR 6.8 barrel here. This gives us that damage range increase, bullet velocity, recoil control, and hipfire accuracy. I mean, this is just by far the best barrel in here to be able to actually run on this gun. Highly recommend you guys actually run this instead of pretty much anything else. This is undoubtedly the best one, and the tuning on that here is actually going to be a +0.39 and a +0.40, maxing it out for that damage range. Now we're going down here to the underbarrel section. We're going to run the FTAC Ripper 56, so aiming at stability, hipfire accuracy, and recoil stabilization. This is a tried and true underbarrel that a lot of us enjoy running on a variety of our different guns, and so we're going to be running it here today, and it's going to work out beautifully. We're getting the tuning here for that. That's going to be a -0.59 and +0.27. After that, of course, we got to go down here, run that beautiful 50 round mag. This gun is 110% going to need the 50 rounds. I don't care if you're playing solos. Always run the 50 round drum mag. I know sometimes I'd be talking about like you can run something maybe a little bit different if you're playing solos, but for this gun in particular, you definitely should be running the 50 round drum no matter if you're playing solos, duos, trios, quads, anything else like that. Doesn't that matter? Always run that 50. Last but not least, we happen to have the AMOT V4, which is just to scroll over here. This is just the tried and true sight we love running here. By the way, you guys can see my reticle is actually purple. I ended up switching out my reticle here pretty much for a skin variant from the Tim the Tapman bundle since it came with this specific attachment, the AMOT V4. So that's how I have that purple reticle right there for any of you guys that are going to be wondering that. The tune here is going to be a -0.233, and then all the way maxed out here on the bottom at a -1.65 for that far distance. This is going to be my full Cronin Squall build here. Pretty much the fastest TTK AR in the game. Next up here today, we're going to be taking a look at the ISO 45, one of my favorite SMGs to be able to use. Minus these iron sights are not necessarily the greatest, but otherwise this SMG is incredible, and we got a banger build here, an updated one that we've actually changed around here very recently to make it incredibly effective. So one of the main changes we actually ended up making to our build here is we switched it out from the EX Raptor V2 barrel over to the 9 PTX Trainer barrel. This thing actually does not slow you down really hardly at all, but you get all these different benefits here: the damage range, hipfire accuracy, movement speed, and bullet velocity, which is something I really like, and I've been putting it to the test in game. It has worked out so well, and I absolutely love using this, especially over the Raptor V2. So this is pretty much my new go-to right now. The tune on that here is going to be a -0.29 and -0.27. After that, I'm going to go up in here and we're going to throw on the 1 MW quick-fire laser. So this gives you that increase to your aim down sight speed, which is something we really like here. This is a close quarters gun, so the more effective we can be at aiming down sights faster, obviously the better. The tune on that here is going to be a -0.44 and a -32.90. Keep in mind, this is just kind of a relative thing here. It doesn't have to be exact on this. You don't have to get any tuning exact. It should be good in a relative manner because sometimes it's really hard to get, you know, that exact one down there. On the way down here, we're gonna go down for that 45 round drum. The 45 round drum is just kind of standard. This gun comes with 30 round stock, so we got to bump it up to that 45. Not really much to explain here. Now we're gonna go on back. We're gonna run the EXP shear. So this is gonna give us that increase in sprint to fire speed, aim down sight speed. This is just crucial for making this gun very effective at close range, and I don't recommend running any of these other ones. I only run the EXP shear. The tune on that here is actually going to be all the way maxed out for aim down sight speed and all the way maxed out once again for sprint to fire speed. So this is one of those attachments where you can max out pretty much and have no issues. Lastly, we have the demo fade tac stock. So aim walking speed and sprint speed is the two things we get from this, and you lose a little bit of aiming stability, but it's not something we're too concerned with. This just performs beautifully as is, so I'm totally cool with losing a little bit of aiming stability as this gun feels great otherwise. And the tune on that here is gonna be a -2.06 and a -1.39. So that is how I have that tune. That's my full build there for the ISO 45, one of the fastest TTK SMGs in the entire game. Next up, we're gonna be taking a look here at the Chimera. This is one of the fastest TTK sniper support guns in the entire game. You don't really ever run this as a true AR. You pretty much run it as sniper support. So we got an incredible build here to help you guys dominate Warzone with. The first attachment in here today is going to be the 10 SA Phoenix. So that increase in damage range, bullet velocity, recoil control, and hipfire accuracy. I mean, you really can't go wrong with this. I absolutely love running the 10 SA Phoenix. The tune on that here is going to be a -0.16 and -0.40 all the way at the bottom there. And we're going to go on down here. What we're going to do is we're going to run the FSS Shark Fin 90. So this is going to give us that increase in aiming idle stability. If you guys really want to, you could probably switch it out for like the FTAC Ripper 56 if you feel like the recoil is a little bit too much. But I just want to stabilize the gun out ever so slightly, and this helps us do that. The tune on that here is actually going to be a -0.28 and a -0.10. FTAC got to go on down here for that 45 round mag. This comes with 30 round stock. Obviously, that is not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. So we don't ever run the stock magazine on pretty much any of our builds. I think maybe minus the M16, which never gets used anyways. So that'd be like the only exception. But next up, we're going to go on down here and we're going to throw on the VLK Laser 7MW, aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. A tried and true setup here for this gun. You guys could always switch it out for the 1MW quickfire if you really would prefer to have a little bit more ADS, because you might want to use this a little bit more close range as opposed to kind of like that mediumish range. That could be a really good option as well, but the late 7MW actually works out really nicely. The tune on that here is going to be all they maxed out for that sprint to fire speed and all they maxed out down there for that aim down sight speed. Last but definitely not least, we have the Bruin Flash Grip. So sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed, making this gun more mobile. It's not really going to be too hard to control. The iron sights are super usable, so that's why we're not wasting an attachment on an optic. But if I was to take something off, this would probably be it to actually switch out for an optic. Otherwise, the gun is just perfect as is. But the tune on that here is going to be actually a -0.71 and -0.25. So that is my full build and tuning here for the Chimera, one of the best sniper sports in the game. Next up is going to be this beauty right here, the X13 Auto. If you've not been killed in Warzone by this, I don't know what type of lobbies you're in, but everybody and their mom knows about the X13 Auto. So I might as well give you guys a build for it, because this thing is, you know, seriously broken right now, and it's going to get nerfed at some point, but it is super, super broken. All right, first attachment on here to be able to help with the recoil control, because this thing is going to want to bounce around a lot. We have the DZS open comp here for horizontal recoil control and vertical recoil control. This is a necessary thing on this gun, especially since a large majority of the people out there really, you know, struggle with recoil control. Somebody that's a more advanced player could kind of get away with maybe not running a muzzle on this or running a different attachment, but usually speaking, you're going to want a little bit more recoil control out of this gun. The tune on that here is actually going to be a +0.54 and a +0.24. After that, we got to go up in here and throw in the impact point barrel. So this actually makes it into, like, you know, this carbine SMG. That's pretty much what makes this thing so good. So we definitely got to run that. The tune on that here is going to be all they max out for recoil steadiness and a +0.26 on the bottom for a little bit more of that damage range. After that, we're going to go down here. We're going to throw on the 9mm hollow point round. So this is going to help with that crippling power. Pretty much what it does is, as it says right here, slowing the target and disabling sprint for a short time. Pretty much makes it so that even though you're sprinting really fast because you have a pistol out, when you're shooting at somebody, they lose their ability to sprint. So it helps close the gap when you're chasing somebody down, which is very, very effective and useful. The tune on that here is actually going to be a +0.59 for that increase in damage range, and all they max out on the bottom for that bullet velocity. Going on down here, we have the 50 round drum. So we're gonna throw on the 50. I don't really ever recommend to run the 33. You probably could get away with it for solos, probably, but I don't really ever try that. I just exclusively go for the 50. I think that is definitely like a really solid amount of ammunition for this gun, so I always recommend running that. And lastly, we're gonna go for the FTAC OL-Z grip here for that increase in recoil control. And the tune on that here is actually going to be a +0.61 and a +0.38. So that is my full build there for the X13 Auto, which is incredibly broken right now. And for our last gun here today, we're going to be taking a look at the Lockman Sub. So this is, technically speaking, the best SMG in the entirety of Warzone, pretty much beside, you know, the ISO 45. So if you're running either or, you're going to be taken care of. But this is, I think, statistically, with a couple headshots, the #1 fastest TTK SMG there is. First attachment here today is going to be the L38 Falcon barrel that increase in movement speed and aim down sight speed. This makes this thing so much more effective at just being able to kind of be agile and mobile. So I really actually like that. The tune on that here is actually going to be a -0.21 and a +0.30. So that's how I got that. Now we're going to move on in here. What we're going to do is we're going to go throw on the 1MW quickfire laser for that increase in aim down sight speed. This is a very good attachment here to be able to have on this gun. Highly recommend it. The tuning for that here is actually going to be a -0.18 and -38.57. So that's how I got that tuned. After that, we're going to go down here and we're going to throw on the 9mm frangible rounds. Just this helps with pretty much temporarily, you know, disabling healing, so it keeps people at low health when you're firing at them. Also, just, you know, very, very, you know, crucial in close quarter situations between that and the hollow point rounds. I mean, you really can't go too wrong between either of these. We ran the hollow point on the pistol, but the frames will actually work out pretty nicely for this. We're going to go into the tuning here for that, which is actually going to be a plus 0.50 and a negative 0.52. 5.52, my bad. Then we're gonna go down here, throw on the 40 round drum or 40 round mag. You could throw on the 50 round drum, but the 40 round mag is gonna be perfectly fine. The 50 round is gonna be something you guys could definitely try out if you want to. If you feel like you need more rounds in the magazine, that's not gonna make or break the build. It's still perfectly acceptable. And then lastly, we happen to have the Lockman TCG10, so that increase in recoil control. Pretty standard, pretty tried and true, helps kind of, you know, stabilize the gun out here just a little bit. And the tune on that here's gonna be a negative 0.29 and a negative 0.13. So that's my full build there for the Lockman sub. That's my top 5. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, and I'll see you guys all later.